Greetings. Welcome back. Twilight once more in the wizard's study. I'm J.R.R. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about J.R.R. Tolkien. Now, I've been a fan of J.R.R. Tolkien and his Legendarium since I was about 6 years old, when my dad read to me The Fellowship of the Ring for the first time. This predated my viewing of Peter Jackson's trilogy. Um, so, Lord of the Rings has meant the universe to me for my entire life. And it means so much to me. And those movies, Peter Jackson's films, mean so much to me that I find myself getting a little frustrated with some of the discourse that currently surrounds Professor J.R.R. Tolkien. Because, first of all, there's this weird idea that came out around when The Rings of Power was airing, that Lord of the Rings was all for white people. And loath as I am to discuss this topic in great depth and at great length on my channel, I do feel like I should bring it up now. Now, I'm not white, right? My mother is an immigrant from Trinidad. She's born in Trinidad, and then she was taken to Canada when she was very young. Now, I am half Trini through my mother, and half Ashkenazi Jewish through my father. And I kind of feel like saying that in a video kind of is a bad idea on the internet because people are crazy about race. And I mean that from multiple angles. I mean, there are people who are really racist on the internet, but there are also people who are in function, what they do is racist, but they're convinced that they are anti-racist. So there's something I need to say about Lord of the Rings right now, and this is coming from a brown guy, right? I'm brown. I'm not white. I've never been white. I've never identified as white. I've never identified as white ever since I think it was the second grade when I was in a class full of white kids and we all had to draw portraits of each other. And I remember all the portraits of all the other kids in the class went up on the walls, and mine was up, and I was the only one colored with a different color. Mine was like brown, and everyone else was colored with beige. And I was like 7 years old when that happened, and I remember being devastated by it, like really upset. Now, is that weird to look back on? Of course, because now I'm happy in my own skin. I'm happy to be who I am. I am proud to be the ethnicity that I am. I'm proud to be mixed race, all those things. I am comfortable in my skin. But I wasn't when I was in grade 2 because I didn't know why I was being made to be different. I felt like I was the same as all the other kids, and here was visual evidence that I wasn't. So that's just to say this is a little bit of my relationship with race, right? And I identify as a brown guy. Okay? So this idea has come up recently in recent years, and a lot of it is kind of surrounds the corporate media furor that sort of was attached to Amazon's The Rings of Power, that TV show, which in my opinion is corporate slop. But that's just my opinion. If you like Rings of Power, no problem. I hope we can still be friends. I just really didn't like it. Okay, wait. One side note before we get back to Tolkien, but then we're gonna do a little reading of J.R.R. Tolkien because that's what this channel is really about. But I just want to add this in, and I hope that if you're watching this video and you are a person of color, right, whatever it may be, brown, black, Asian, mixed, indigenous, whatever it may be, if you are watching this video and you are someone who loves Lord of the Rings to bits, like I do, don't ever indulge the idea, even for a second, that Lord of the Rings means less to you because you're not white than it does to white people, right? With all that out of the way, because this is not, I don't want to talk about race and, how race can divide people these days on my channel. It's not, but this is personal to me because Lord of the Rings is my spiritual way. Like, it's the words of Tolkien are so deeply important to me. And right now, I'm going to do a reading, and I'm going to try to share with you why Tolkien is so spiritually important to me. Now, oh, look, the lighting's changed. uh, as though a wizard has cast a spell of Twilight. So, I want to show you my copy of Lord of the Rings. So this is my set, my box set of Lord of the Rings. And no, it is not for sale. So this set collects the Lord of the Rings in a set of 7 volumes. So rather than splitting up the book into 3 parts, Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and Return of the King, this collection splits it up into 6 parts. Because, you know, each of the Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and Return of the King, each of those books is actually divided into 2 parts. And these parts are much more distinct in the books than they are in Peter Jackson's adaptation. So, um, I thought I would start us out with a passage from, this is the final part of Lord of the Rings, Book 6, The End of the Third Age. So the second book of Return of the King. And this is one of my favorite passages in Tolkien. So, where are you going, master? Cried Sam. Oh, this is sorry. This is from the chapter "The Grey Havens." This is chapter 9. Where are you going, master? Cried Sam, though at last he understood what was happening. To the Havens, Sam, said Frodo. And I can't come. No, Sam. Not yet, anyway. Not further than the Havens. Though you too were a ring-bearer, if only for a little while. Your time may come. Do not be too sad, Sam. You cannot always be torn in two. You will have to be one and whole for many years. You have so much to enjoy and to be, and to do. But, said Sam, and tears started in his eyes, I thought you were going to enjoy the Shire too, for years and years, after all you have done. So I thought too once, but I have been too deeply hurt, Sam. I tried to save the Shire, and it has been saved, but not for me. It must often be so, Sam. When things are in danger, someone has to give them up, lose them, so that others may keep them. It's a short passage, but it speaks to Tolkien's knowledge of loss, grief, and danger. So when he uses the word danger, he's talking about warfare descending on a peaceful land, right? Tolkien knew war. He fought and was wounded in the Battle of the Somme in World War I. By the age of, I think it was 25, he's quoted as saying, all of my best friends are dead. So Tolkien knew war and he knew danger, and so he knew in his bones and in his heart and soul the truth of what he laid out in the passage I just read, which is true, that when things are in danger, it must often be so that some must give them up so that others may keep them. And I think that this is kind of a beautiful echo and inversion of the quote that Gandalf speaks to Frodo at the very beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring. And this quote is one of my favorite quotes from Lord of the Rings as well, and I'm sure that I'm not the only person who feels that way. And in the film Fellowship of the Ring, in Peter Jackson's adaptation, this quote appears twice. The first time it appears in the Mines of Moria, and it's spoken by Gandalf to Frodo. And the second time it appears toward the end of the film. But in the book, so this is book 1 of Lord of the Rings, book 1 of the Fellowship of the Ring sets out. And this passage, which is so crucial to Tolkien's message, And Philippa Boyens, Fran Walsh, and Peter Jackson obviously understood this because they took this passage and they placed it in the most significant points of the narrative in the film. But in the book, this quote occurs early on and it's almost buried. Right? And it's as follows. The rumors that you have heard are true. He has indeed arisen again, and left his hold in Mirkwood, and returned to his ancient fastness in the dark tower of Mordor. That name even you hobbits have heard of, like a shadow on the borders of old stories. Always, after a defeat and a respite, the shadow takes another shape and grows again. I wish it need not have happened in my time, said Frodo. So do I, said Gandalf, and so do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. And already, Frodo, our time is beginning to look black. It's not quite as hopeful in the book, is it? In the book, it comes with a little more doom attached. But, so those are two short passages from J.R.R. Tolkien, and I wanted to share them with you today because I think it's important to keep the legacy of J.R.R. Tolkien alive, right? This is someone who understood on a fundamental level the importance of friendship and love in the face of evil. He's someone who understood the power, beauty, and importance of nature. And I think J.R.R. Tolkien, I think he would have been heartbroken to see the current state of the world. But so that's basically what I have to say about Tolkien. You know, I just wanted to revisit some of what he has to say. He wasn't shallow, and his writing, though he was, you know, a white Catholic British guy writing for his fellow white Catholic British friends, that is not the limit of whom this story is for. Lord of the Rings is for everyone. And so I want to kind of represent Lord of the Rings in my little corner of the internet as something that is all about bringing people together, making friends, finding true spiritual fulfillment. That, to me, is what Lord of the Rings is all about. It is not about dividing people. It is not about saying, oh, this is only for this group of people. You know, it's about saying anyone who wants to show up for this story is welcome. So, I think that's all I got for today. Thanks for tuning in again. Sorry if I got a little personal or intense with the race stuff, but, you know, as a mixed race guy who is a devout fan of J.R.R. Tolkien, I just felt it was worth speaking on a little bit, and I hope that that's all right with you. So, thanks for listening. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.